What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daddy Jeep Garage. This week we are still prepping for the 24-hour Appalachian Adventure Run for the Hills. So the front axle of this Jeep's been an issue for a while now. The Rosetta joint was absolute garbage, and maybe that's partially why now my pinion bearing in the front axle is junk. So I got me a brand new pinion bearing set for the front axle, motive gear. Gonna get that ripped apart. We're gonna put in a Aussie locker while we're in there. Try to get that slammed back together because there's lots of stuff still to get done. I gotta look at my steering. Something's still wonky up there. I mean, it's not gonna fall apart on me, but it wanders a bit, clunks a bit. I don't know if it's... It looks like my track bar bolt back off again. So I want to get that tightened back up. Maybe look at some ball joints. I may swap out the drag link ball joint on the pitman arm. Looks a little greasy. I gotta look closer at that. So a couple minor things there. I need to change the oil. Still got to figure out how I'm carrying my spare tire. Got some more electrical stuff to do. So lots to get done. I've got about a week and a half to get all this done. So we're going to dive right in, get this front axle torn apart. Got to get the brakes ripped off, pull the unit bearings so we can pull the axle shafts out so we can get the carrier out of there. So lots to do. Let's get to it. So again, with a unit bearing axle like this, you actually have to take all three of the unit bearing bolts out in order to get the axle shafts to come out. And of course, wouldn't you know it, I've got three different bolts I'm dealing with. That's not a Jeep problem. That's a previous owner problem. I've got the top two on both sides are the inverted Torx ones that it would have came from Jeep, but I had two sizes on this side and two different bolts on the other side. So ridiculous. I really need to get all new hardware to replace these, but probably gonna put them back in the way they were for now because, well, that's what I got. All right, so to get the hub off, you want to tap in on the axle shaft just to break any potential rust bond free of inside the hub, and then we work on getting the hub off the knuckle. Or maybe it'll just come right off. There is also a large washer on that. Don't lose that guy. Pull that hub right off. Man, that was super easy. These don't look like they've been on there too awful long, which is good. See if the other side comes apart. Not bad. All right, we're just going to pull the shafts out just long enough so we can get the carrier out. All right, now that the axle shafts are pulled out, we'll go ahead and pull this diff cover. That's what we want, a nice controlled release of this goop, because it doesn't smell good. Wow, that stuff is thick. Alright guys, it's another day, another evening rather. We're out here in the shop trying to get this front diff put back together. So it's super cold, so even inside the shop it's maybe 30 degrees. So my bearing races hanging out in the shop are pretty cold, so I'm going to add some heat to the differential housing just to make pressing in the inner bearing races a little bit easier. Alright, we're going to shove this pinion back in here. Stay. Alright, slide this guy in here. Put on our new inner bearing. Next goes this flat spacer. Then we can put our new seal in. So some of you might be thinking, I haven't put this all together. I haven't measured my rotational torque. I haven't done any of this stuff, and I'm not going to. So because I'm reusing my gear set, I don't have to worry about the setup so much. So I'm actually reusing the stock crush sleeve, and we're just going to torque this thing down and run it. So it should be fine. I will obviously make sure there's no play in it, make sure I'm torqued appropriately, but I'm not going through all of those measuring steps because, quite frankly, we just don't need to. Get the yoke back in here. Get our new washer. Get our new axle nut. I know my Harbor Freight gun very well, and I know I can torque this thing all day long and get to maybe 120 foot-pounds. So I have zero concerns that I can crank this sucker as far down as this gun will take it, because the spec on this is 200 foot-pounds when reusing the crush sleeve. A lot of guys from my research are actually only doing 180. So that said, this isn't going to get me there. So I'm going to go ahead and run it down with this, and then we're going to follow it up with a little more torque with either the torque wrench or maybe the DeWalt torque impact gun. So the next step is wrestling this carrier back in. So I made sure to keep my bearing races and the perspective shims oriented the way they came out, because mixing that up would be bad. Then I would have to reset everything. Alright, bearing caps are torqued to 60. At this point, all that's left is to put some silicone on there, get the cover back on, fill this one up with diff fluid, and then put all the outer stuff back together. This front end's all buttoned up. I got the new pinion bearings in, I got the Aussie locker installed, I got everything put back together, and I don't know if you've noticed the most important thing. I don't know if you picked up on it, it's a big deal. The locker's done, but I still haven't put on a light bar. So I definitely got lockers before light bars. So if you know your WJs, or most modern Jeeps for that matter, they come with these god-awful Rezepa joints. It's a style of CV, and they don't like lift, they don't like angles, and they're terrible. So we ripped that thing out of the WJ, and we picked up a drive shaft out of a 94 or 95 V8 ZJ Grand Cherokee. So this has a normal universal style joint up front, and we go to the back and it actually has a normal double cardan CV. So got rid of that horrible Rezepa, put in a CV shaft for not a whole lot of money. I picked this up from a friend of mine along with that Aussie locker. All right, so we're inside the WJ now, and I've got my new plugs daisy chained together. So again, the two USBs up top, the two just cigarette lighters on the bottom, on each side. Got them wired up, got my switch panel mounted where the ashtray used to be. So now I just got all this extra harness. I'm gonna wrap up with one of the included zip ties, shove it back in there, and then pop this thing back in the dash. So that is that. It just snapped right into there. There's no hardware at all. That panel just popped out of there. It's on some spring clips. All right, so one more task complete in the old WJ. We've got the tablet mounted, which you can see we've got On X Offroad running here, which is the purpose for this tablet. The 24 Hours of Appalachian Challenge, they're going to provide us with a GPX file that we can then load into the tablet, and we can use that to follow the route as well as track the route, so they can verify at the end that we actually did the whole route. So I've got an affiliate link down below for On X, so definitely go click on that. And I believe there's a little bit of a discount. I have to fully set that up, so we'll know more here in a minute. But definitely check out On X. I've been playing with it both on the tablet and the phone, and it's When I first came out here on the East Coast, it was a little bit lacking in the fact that the trails weren't there, but that's come a long ways in the past year and a half or so. So a lot of trails on there. Definitely worth spending a few bucks and getting On X. It's a really nice app. You can plot your own courses. You can follow courses someone else has saved. So definitely check that out in the link below. But right now we've just got this mounted, just stuck onto the dash with a cheap mount off of Amazon. It might bounce a little bit going down the road, but that's okay. I've also got my Scotia mount over here on the side for my cell phone, so I can fit both on the dash. So that's going to be really useful for the trip. So in the back of the Grand Cherokee, there's this little plug for where a power port could go. And I've read where, even if it didn't come with a power port, that the wiring is likely back in there. Well, guess what? I'm not so lucky. So I've got to run some wire. I got some nice heavy, like 12 gauge wire that I've found, of course reclaimed from something. So I'm going to run this chunk of wire from this back outlet to the center console, where I'm also adding a power outlet. And then I'm going to run another wire, I'll splice them there, and then run one from there through a fuse back to the battery. So this whole panel, the only screws in it are where these tie down points are. The rest of them are just clips, so you just got to pop them out off of there. So continuing my, of course, stellar luck, this factory hole's not quite big enough, so we're going to use a step bit. Open that up a step. Of course, make a mess. Alright, that is better. Alright, so that took a little bit of finagling. There's a bunch of little tabs. There's a tab on the back by the window that I was just fighting with. So I ran it across here, and there's actually a cable management track that runs down along the edge of the door there. So I ran that wire down through that, fished it down to the floor up there. I'll deal with up there later, but everything back here at least is done, so I can get this all put back together, because it's almost midnight, and I've had enough for one night. You can see here, the outlet's in a super convenient spot, because again, it's actually a factory spot. You know, there's supposed to be one there, or there's at least option to be one there. Alright, so now that the light bar is mounted, I've got the brackets getting painted at the moment, so now it is time to start some body work. Not really body work, we're just going to scuff and shoot this thing. It had a bunch of little spots where the paint was chipped that I went ahead and sanded and primed, but now this the rest of it, we just need to sand it just enough to knock the sheen off so we can put some new paint on it. So we're going to get to it. Alright, the last step, we're sanding this down with some 400 grit just to knock down any sanding scratches and get us a good flat surface to paint on. We're going around all these little pieces. I already taped them off so I didn't get them dirty or scratch things, and I didn't want to scratch my glass. So the rule of thumb when you're painting is if it's shiny, paint will not stick to it. So we're making sure we get everything done all the way up tight to all these edges. I mean, if I really wanted to do this right, I would pull all these hinges off. I could get in behind them, but I want this to be nice, but it's not a show car. I mean, we're going to do the best we can with a scuff and shoot. I'm trying to be as thorough as possible without going overboard. So I had Bill here for a bit helping me sand tonight. We got pretty much all of the sanding done in one night, and that's what my time frame dictates. So again, it's not as good. I mean, my name's Rob, but it's not Robbie Layton, so we're not doing that level of work here. So we're just trying to get it so we're comfortable that the paint is going to stick, and the paint job that I'm doing is going to be busy enough that it'll hide any really minor imperfections, but we do want the paint to stick. That's why we need to make sure there is nothing shiny. So this is where that other Robbie would do the blow tack and static, and well, we don't have that stuff. So what we're doing is we're using a nice blue disposable Scott shop towel and some acetone, and we're just wiping everything down the best we can. Now, we already did blow it off with some compressed air, and I do have an air dryer that I don't use all the time. It's just a small DeWalt one, an inline one I have over here, so I did use that to at least reduce the contaminants from my compressor for this stage. But the acetone wipe would take care of any minor contaminants we get from the air system. All right, everything is mashed off. Everything is wiped down a second time. It's time to start putting some color on. So we're going to start with this darker green. This is meadow green. It's a Rust-Oleum 2X. I tried getting some help from a couple companies. Nobody wanted to step up and help with paint. So I just bought everything down the road at Ace Hardware. So we're going to get to spraying. I'm going to start with this darker green. I'm going to work my way lighter. All right, that's the shadowing, the darker color, the dark green. I went through 2 cans of that so far. I have another one for touching up later. Now the primary green color is going to be the spring green Rust-Oleum. I have a whole bunch of this, so we're gonna lay most of the Jeep down with this stuff. So we're gonna go real smooth and slow. Make sure we don't get some runs, but we're gonna cover some ground with this one. One last color you haven't seen yet. This color is called Seaside. So this is a light blue, and we're going to use this for our flames. Just going to loosely mock up where the flames are going to be here. So this is where things are really starting to add some character. We're starting to do some striping. I've already done a little bit, as you can see. I've been just playing around trying to get my consistency of paint just right. I'm using more Rust-Oleum products. This is the Painter's Touch Ultra Cover. It's actually a latex paint. It's a water-based paint. It's the best I could do. You know, I could have gone with like a one-shot lettering enamel, but time and money prevented that. So this stuff's like $8 a can. I got a couple cans of black and a can of white. So we're going to use this. I've cut it just a little bit with water to thin it out some, and we're just starting to lay in some striping on here. So here's the little piece that I built to project my image. I've got my logo. I just traced it onto some clear plastic, got my flashlight mounted, and of course it projects it onto the side of the Jeep, so then I can just paint it on there and I know it's accurate and I can make sure it's scaled and positioned the way I want. Alright, so after a whole bunch of trial and error and redoing, I finally got the black where I want it. It's cracked still. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. I covered up what I could with some more layers, but at this point it is what it is. So now we're coming in with the white. We're adding the highlights, and that should really make things pop. Alright guys, last step, and this paint job will be complete, and that will be some more of this Rust-Oleum 2X clear. We're going to do gloss clear over everything, just to seal in all the different layers of stuff. I still have a lot of cracking in the black mostly. The white's cracked a little bit, but it is what it is. Thing's gonna look nice from 20 feet away. That's all that really matters. It's gonna get scratched up, dinged up. It's a Jeep. We're gonna use it as a Jeep. So we're gonna get some clear on this thing, and then we'll show you the finished product.
that's a wrap for this one, guys. I also got the bumper back on. I trimmed it to fit around the winch mount and stuff I built. It looks a lot more finished now. I'm happier with that. But look for us on the trails. I'll have as many updates as I can on the Instagram during the event this weekend. And I'll have a full video coming from the 24-hour Appalachian Adventure coming real soon. Thanks for watching.